Does One Piece need more black characters? Short answer, no. Long answer, let's see, because it's a little more interesting than just a one-word answer. Whenever this conversation comes up, it usually goes one of two ways. Either we need more representation, put a chick in it, make her gay, or it doesn't matter, just tell the freaking story, bro. I often say this myself, to be honest, but both these answers are a little too easy for One Piece because One Piece is in a weird spot. It already has diversity, actually has a lot. One of the more consistent complaints you hear is that why do all the women in One Piece look the same? I think there's pretty much enough diversity in there between someone like Big Mom to Miss Monday to Nami, Robin, the ones that look the same. Obviously, Oda has a particular look that he prefers. I think he said as much himself, but it's clear that there's enough diversity within the space itself and body types that I'm not really going to put that on him. Because one thing about One Piece is huge, like unnecessarily gargantuan. And if you really look at the world, it's global. It's got different cultures, different designs, different inspirations. It's beautiful. And when it comes to black-coded characters, they're not hard to find, except for the ones that are super hard to find because they're all might be white guys, which is basically all of them. They just don't like to use color for whatever reason. But we've got Usopp, obviously. Kuzan might be mixed. I don't know. He's based on the Japanese actor Yusaku Masuda. So maybe, probably not. But anyways, Usopp, Mr. 1, Mr. 5, and Blackbeard. And there's some others. But there's a lot of range there alone. Different personalities, different roles, different power levels. So the issue isn't, are there black characters? Are there enough black characters? Because to me, there kind of are. The real question is, what are they doing? Because representation isn't just about showing up. It's about position, agency, impact in the story. Because there are a lot of black-coded characters in One Piece, but are they driving the story? More or less, they seem to sometimes just kind of orbit it. Most of them get killed off by that minority hunter over here. They may have their moments, they show up, do something cool, but then the story moves on without them really having done much at all. Take Usopp, even a main character of the main crew. That's a big deal. He is a big deal. But even then, he's not really treated like a central pillar of the story. Every now and again, things rely on him, but for the most part, he gets his moment, strong moments they may be, and then he fades back a little bit, back to his comedic standing as the comedic relief guy. You've seen it. We've talked about Usopp. I'm not going to sit here and litigate it. That was in my other video. But then, now compare that to someone like Blackbeard. Blackbeard is very important. He's always important. Every time he shows up, the story shifts, the stakes change. You feel his presence. That's what impact looks like. So it's not about how many characters you have. It's about how the story treats them when they're on screen. Little side note, one thing I think Oda deserves real credit for is because if we're talking about racism in One Piece, the Fishmen storyline, he didn't play around with that. Characters like Fisher Taiga, Jinbei, the whole shebang, the whole story, slavery, discrimination, cycles of hate. I mean, they really got into the weeds. Oda really got into the weeds of storytelling from a very cultural oppressive perspective, like a real world parallels, just told through a different lens. And that's a good example of how to put in these quote unquote woke things into a story and still tell a phenomenal tale, a laugh tale. You see what I did there? Yeah, you did. These characters aren't just, there to represent or form an agenda. They matter. Their stories had a weight. Their decisions had consequences. So jumping back over to the black representation in One Piece, when people say One Piece or any media for that matter needs more black characters or doesn't have enough black characters, I get the intention, but adding more characters doesn't do anything. Because if the writing was bad, you're just adding more people into the same bad structure. More faces, but same level of importance, same screen time BS patterns. Now, instead of one underused, underdeveloped character, you've got a group of underused, underdeveloped characters. That's not progress, in my opinion. That's just crowding up the room. More Blackbeards would be nice, but really, and this is another side note a little bit, this is a Japanese media piece, so I'm surprised they even have any black people to begin with. I mean, Bleach has some, shout out to Bleach. Naruto has them, but they're all shoved basically into the Cloud Village, but they really don't have to have any. So personally, I think One Piece does a great job giving us some good black characters, a wide range of different types. Usopp and Blackbeard stick out the most. They're kind of their characters kind of are contrasted against each other, giving us really two opposite sides: the man who's almost basically fearless and the one who fears all, making them real and not very pandering, just making them feel like they are their own people. They just happen to be black people, even though this world doesn't really have black people, but you know what I mean. But across media nowadays, I'll see more representation, which is a step in a good direction, right? But they're not more impactful, especially not in positive ways. A lot of times it'll be a race swap issue and it just sort of creates controversy instead of having a genuinely good black character that which we can all be like, hey, that character's cool. He happens to be black. That's awesome. Like Blade, he's just a cool character and he happens to be black, which obviously black people can identify with, which is cool. And anybody else who jumps on board that likes him, white guy, Asian guy, Arab guy, thinks he's cool too. That's what we really need. I'd like to see more deep characters with rich background stories, not just more presence. Because audiences can feel that. I do, and I'm sure others do too, and it's simply just sort of just there, and it doesn't really fuel growth in a way that matters. Even if the character is not the hero, he can be the villain, he can even be a side character. Some side characters are phenomenal characters that come in and really bring in their own. So I really appreciate Oda for his multi-inclusion in his stories. It's not just black characters he's got Russians, Italians, Brazilians, Indians. Like, the man goes off because people don't connect to just numbers, though that can help. They really, truly, and deeply connect to who actually moves the story in a meaningful way. And if American media would do more of that than just putting black people in things, especially normally white roles, just to get some quick outraged advertising, but actually told unique stories that had great black characters that fit naturally into the story, things would probably be better off for them and us, truly. You know what I mean? When Oda decides a character matters, he commits to it. The background, the emotions, the consequences, that's real. The arcs hit hard when you do things like that. That's why characters from the One Piece world can and do stick with people. So to me, the blueprint is already there. Others should just kind of follow it, but not the arc length. Holy shit, those things are getting long as hell. Wano had me hurting for that conclusion, not gonna lie. I really needed it to end. And that's it for the video. If you enjoyed, you'll love the next one coming up. But until then, like, comment, and share this out.